Testing, testing. All right, how about now, folks? Can you hear the audio? All right, thanks, folks. Not sure what happened there. Appreciate it. Yeah, great to see everyone on the chat. I had to actually unplug and replug the mic. Thank you, mentors. Happy New Year to everyone else as well. Let's stay safe. Absolutely. Have fun and stay safe, right? And yes, 2019 is going to be a year to remember, no doubt. No matter what happens, 2019 is going to be a year to remember. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, buddy. Good to see everyone tonight. Yeah, it's getting close. 2 days to go, which in reality, it's like part of a day in terms of study time. I'm going to talk a little bit about my actual sit-down strategy. That is what my strategy is when I actually sit down to the testing station. But yeah, for now, just try to maintain serenity and stay calm at all costs and rest that all-important organ, right? Which is the brain. I did get to rest. I took it a little easy last night, which is good. I was starting to feel a little fatigue. I've been going and going, folks. I mean, I haven't really had much of a break. And I've been okay with that. I've been enjoying it. I've been enjoying my time. And I've been pacing myself. But it kind of caught up with me a little bit yesterday. So last night, I just kind of took it easy and watched a movie and, relaxed. So that was good. Thank you, Darty Blaze. Indeed, man. I'm feeling pretty good, folks. I feel a lot better than I did the previous attempts. Die first, then quit. Absolutely, man. Dude, for him, my problem is I get the test center early, get antsy, go ahead and take the test early. Grr, should not do that. That's anxiety, right? I know the feeling, dude, for him. So yeah, I tend, that's another problem with getting older, I've noticed. At least in my case, dude, for him. Like, I have this problem of being too early for things. Oh, Mashi, thank you. Thank you so much for that sub. Appreciate it with that Twitch Prime sub, Bashimashi. I don't have my stream labels loaded. Let me get that loaded up so it will update the screen. And I can see those. Awesome. Thank you so much, folks. Yeah, it doesn't auto it. That's okay. I think there's actually a plugin now that will remind you. So I've got that turned on. It should work. I know it does for me. I'll forget, I'll wonder how many days I have left, and the plugin will actually tell you now. So yeah, thank you so much. Mentors, make sure you use your yellow note first thing and brain dump what you know before the exam. Works for me and the jitters. Yeah, that's a good thing to do, like a yellow notepad. I plan to do that with something that I call the write-out sheet, which I talked a little bit about last night. But yeah, I'll talk about that in a minute too. That's great stuff though, guys. But yeah, the main thing is to rest, to not go too nuts and stay up all night cramming. I had a pretty good night's sleep last night. Actually, I use a sleep app, and I've been getting 100% consistently lately. When I have time off, I'll get 8 hours. I haven't been going to the gym since kind of the holidays started, but that will change in January once I get past this exam. So I've been focused on this. And that happens usually the last week or last 2 weeks prior. I do little push-ups and things here and there to clear the mind. But yeah, today was good. I went over the first fail notes, which were not ample by any means, but took care of those. And then I started this, actually 30-30. So I use a little Pomodoro timer. And basically what I did today was just every 30 minutes when the timer went off, I would take a little break and then flip to a different study method. Shot of whiskey will help you get hyped from there as well. Yet Cisco and Pearson may frown. Actually, I already had a little bit with my dinner here. Someone got me this glass, a family member, for the holidays. So, and a bottle of JD, which is nice. But yeah, I went through flashcard. I do 30 minutes, then I go through drill sheet, flashcards, drill sheets, and then I started on the I&E in-section videos. These are the ones I got to. These are the ones I'm going to work on a little bit tonight and tomorrow. And what I mean by this is if you have so I&E has the different courses. They have the advanced technology videos, which I've downloaded all of them as part of the package I purchased. But they have a written one too. And at the end of some of the written videos, like they'll get to the end of layer 3, and they have these really great like review questions. And I went through the layer 2, now doing the layer 3. Circuits productions, what language is this? It looks like a completely different language, I know. My wife says the same thing. She'll look at my screen and that's like, you're talking a different language. So yeah, this is the language of networking, my friends. You see how you study stuff. So yeah, that is what I'm going over right now. And then I want to go also over CCI in 8 weeks, OCG questions, boson, and basically I'm just going to rotate like every 30 minutes, switch from one to the other, so I'm not stuck in necessarily one or the other, right? Also doing like some quick hits, some quick studies, wherever I get a little bit stuck or I feel like I need to go just a little bit deeper to get a little more comprehension or review or a review. These are kind of my hit list. I went over assured forwarding and hexadecimal conversions today, and I've got that down. I mean, I probably took too much time on that, but I've been gone from it long enough to where now I've got it down. Like, the TOS bits and the DSCP, the IPP bits, and the assured forwarding bits. What always confuses me on assured forwarding, and this is my write-out sheet, which I'll talk about in a minute. I keep adding and taking away. But like for assured forwarding per hop behaviors, the Q class is 3 bits, but the drop probability is only bits 4 and 5. That's what kept confusing me. Like I'd see this and think, oh, that's 22. But really, the drop probability is only the first 2 bits, and it's read as a normal binary series of binary digits is read. So 21, 22, 23, right? And then the hexadecimal, I was calling it because there's really, when you have a DSCP value, there's really 2 sets of numbers there. You have what is your DSCP, Casadix. Good to see you, Casadix. Are you in the same time zone, Casadix? I think you told me you were. Good to have you. Mentors, you got your layer 2 down. Crushed me both times. I'm feeling much better about layer 2, mentors, to be honest. Like I went over a lot of, I'll tell you a lot of things that got me previously or things that I felt weak on were interactions with like rapid spanning tree protocol and 802.1d spanning tree protocol. And in particular, topology change process and how that works. Also, when you have multiple spanning tree and PVST plus compatibility mode, 2210. Yeah, okay, you're 1 hour ahead of me, Casadix. I'm in Eastern Standard Time, which is 9. Oh, sorry, 710. Whoa, take that back. Sorry. So I'm in 2100. Yeah, that's right. So you're 810. I'm 710. Well, yeah, so I feel a lot better about the layer 2. Also, IGMP got me hard before. I feel really good about differences between IGMP version 1, version 2, version 3. Also, IGMP snooping, IGMP snooping querier, MLD, neighbor discovery, neighbor solicitation. I feel a lot better about those areas, to be honest. Definitely check the Discord land. Duford shared a great resource for CCIE and studies. Okay, I'll check it out. Thank you, mentors. So yeah, I feel good about that. And then, just going back to this, I went into a little bit of a deep dive, and I'm like, well, with DSCP, you really have two sets of binary and hexadecimal numbers, binary decimal and hexadecimal numbers. So it depends on if they're asking for the DSCP bits or if they're asking for the TOS bits. Generally, they're asking for DSCP. So they're not talking about the expedited forwarding bits, the last two, or ECN, I should say, explicit congestion notification bits. They're just asking about these 6. So, Bashimashi, well, he is 22. I am, you're right. Let's see, I am 19 right now. So yeah, 30. It's weird. You know what? My clock is actually in military time for that reason. But sometimes I look at this and think it's 9:11 when I lose track of time. But you're right. It's 7:12 p.m. 19:12 p.m. military time. So 3 hours ahead. Let's hope there isn't much math for you Wednesday. I know, right? Let's hope they don't ask me about time. Then I'm in big trouble. But yeah, they'll ask you about either the hex or the decimal value, etc. And so this is expedited forwarding PHB, right? Which we know is decimal 46. But if you're looking at this from the TOS point of view, like in a Wireshark packet or capture, or if you're looking at it, using NetFlow, maybe you're doing a show IP flow or show top talkers or something like that, you won't be looking at that in DSCP format. It'll tack on the ECN bits, and you're looking at it in TOS format, type of service. So then you have to convert it. The hex in that case would be B8. So just remember, the small hand is ours, and you're good. I'm going to put that in my write-out list. Small hand is the hours. The small things do get you, though. NTP, yes. NTP is important, too. NTP, different, what features were added in NTP version 4? What is the default version running on iOS? What methods does NTP use to update its time? Can you modify the NTP update interval in iOS? Things like that are really important. So yeah, I went into a few deep dive areas, but not for long. I was careful not to spend too much time in there. I went over again the self-adjacency table because I looked at I'd made myself a flash card, and I was doubting my flash card. And sure enough, I had left out one of the adjacency values. And I want to dig into a little more why the self table or adjacency table would use glean adjacency and why that's important. So I went into that a little bit. BGP conditional advertisements, I need to practice that. Again, I want to make like a process flow chart as time permitting. And then I have a pretty good understanding of the different rendezvous point, PIM, source multicast, and some of the, or sparse mode multicast, and some of the RP methodologies like static, auto RP, and then BSR and Embedded RP I need to beef up on a little bit more tonight or tomorrow. So I've been modifying this write-out page, and I realized today, just for quick reference, I'm not so quick on this. I'm going to put my hex characters above 9 up here. You use your drill sheet and time yourself. You definitely nailed the drill sheet and helped me review. I'm glad it did, mentors. I don't time myself on the drill sheet. Well, I create a rotating clock of 30 minutes just to keep me switching and not relying on a single. It's also good for my posture, like every 30 minutes. I do that anyway, every day, folks. Like at work, I have a 30-minute Pomodoro timer to make sure I stand up and stretch. It's good for your posture, but I'm using it now to kind of switch between different study materials for last couple days review. I added a couple other things in here. This is important too, like your BPDU types. In other words, in a BPDU message, there's a protocol version ID, and then there's a BPDU type. And it's important to know which protocol uses which BPDU type, because that relates back to TCNs. Like 00 is a configuration change BPDU in traditional spanning tree, but type 80 is the topology change type. Whereas in RSTP, you only use BPDU type 2. It's backwards compatible, but it uses a flag, topology change flag. It does not use a separate BPDU for topology change. A couple other just things. Sometimes I forget in memory, and I just want to have them here. And the idea, again, I talked about this last night. The write-out sheet is something that I'm going to practice here at home, like writing out memorization, so that when I sit down, and that will lead into kind of my sit-down plan, I'm gonna use the yellow transparency page, or laminated page. We call them transparencies years ago, but I don't call them anymore. Now people use the smart boards at schools. But anyway, I use the yellow laminated sheet and the marker, and everything that's on my write-out sheet, that's what I'm going to write out. So my plan is when I sit down, after you put everything in your locker, and then they check you into your computer, before I even start, I'm going to do the write-out sheet. So I'm going to write everything I want to have as a reference during the exam, right? I always adjust like the monitors. I don't know about y'all, but I'm anal retentive like that, OCD like that. Like, for some reason, like the monitors for most stations are way in the back, and the keyboard might be in the wrong position. Well, I get everything like to where I'm comfortable, right? Yeah, you do that's basically what it is, mentors. You do your own little brain dump in those problem areas just to have as a reference before you even start, right? You could still use other parts of the sheet. You don't want to take up the whole page either for notes to where you have no room to write. But just those real like problematic memorization areas you use as your dump sheet or your write-out sheet. Perfectly legal. No problem doing that, right? You turn it in at the end. But yeah, I adjust the monitor, I adjust the screen. If there's any problems, I bring it to their attention. And then I do a time plan. So I typically write this on the sheet as well. And I went over this again a little bit today. The problem with the written is you don't know exactly how many questions, because if you actually look at the description on the Cisco site, it says it's anywhere between 90 and 110 questions in 120 minutes. Okay, that kind of makes it, so I actually spreadsheeted this. And you can do roughly 1 per minute. You don't want to make it too complicated. You want to make it easy to kind of remember. Just curious, did anyone have to remove their watch during your exams? Happened only once, and it spooked me that this was going to be rough. I don't wear a watch, so good question, mentors. I don't know. I did, so no longer wear one. Oh, they made you take it off. Yeah, so I can see that, especially nowadays, a smartwatch. Even if your phone's in a locker, you'll probably be able to link to your phone. So yeah, I wouldn't plan on having it. The main watch that you're going to get, or clock that you're going to get, is a countdown. Once you start that exam, the thing is, if I remember correctly, it counts down backwards. So it starts from 120. So it's not always easy. I've had challenges in the past, obviously, as you can see from tonight, like just dispersing the time correctly and the number of questions, counting from an odd number like 120. So I always try to figure that out beforehand. So like this is the way I figured it, that I should be going about 1 a minute. I imagine I'm probably going to get 100 questions. Honestly, I look back today to see, and it doesn't show you on your exam results how many questions you were given. And honestly, I could not remember. I want to say I got 100 each time, but I think I may have gotten 110 questions on the first one. So yeah, you just don't know. So anyway, you got 120 minutes, and I'm hoping I get 100. I would love to get 90, but I'm just going to count on roughly 1 per minute with a little bit of wiggle room. And I'm going to do, when the clock hits 90 minutes, that means I should be 25% complete. So it should be at 25 questions if I get 100. And at 60 minutes, it should be, 50 questions. At 30 minutes, 75, etc. So what will happen is if I get behind, which has happened both times, I've gotten behind the clock, I just start to hurry because time management is so important. You cannot let yourself get down to 10 minutes and have 30 questions to answer. You just, so time management is so important in this exam because some of these questions, you're going to have to think about it for more than a minute, or you might have to do some subnetting or something like that. So, yeah, it's on the list of things you can't bring, like a coat. Cheaters making it tough on all of us, so I understand. Stay ethical, peeps. Absolutely, mentors. D. Douglas, read what you sign before you go in, just to prevent issues. Very true. And as a mentor says, quality over quantity, and pace yourself. It's so important to pace yourself, and that's why on my on my laminated sheet, I'll actually put these. I'm going to put 25 at 90, 50 at 60, 75 at 30, just to help keep myself on track. Then they have a tutorial. Once you click start the exam, well, I think it says start exam tutorial first or something like that. I actually go through the tutorial each time, even though this is going to be the third time, and I've taken many Cisco exams. I find that it helps me to calm down a little bit, and I read through everything, like, D. Douglas is saying, and I'll actually click and just make sure, one, that the mouse is working right, and that the drag, and just that the software seems to be working right. If nothing else, it's kind of a dry run for you to get used to, again, just how the exam software works. Good idea, since every testing center is unique. Yeah, I mean, they try to keep it the same, but, and usually it's very close, but keyboard could be different, the mouse could be different. There are varying levels of cleanliness. Sometimes the mouse is not smooth, so yeah, it's a good idea to just, use a tutorial not to learn anything, but just to test. It's a dry run. It's a test, and it helps calm me down. So that's my sit-down strategy. The day of, again, I've already printed out my appointment. I've got extra paper and pen for immediately afterwards. I'm going to have my 2 forms of ID, and I'm going to get there. I've already got my schedule, when to leave, when to get up, so I get there in plenty of time. I tend to eat light. I do drink coffee, so I tend to have, I usually take a coffee with me. But I try not to drink too much, because while I'm pretty sure you can go to the restroom. I will usually go to the restroom right before the exam, especially in the morning if I had coffee or whatever, because I don't want to have to go during the exam. I don't want any interruptions, because as far as I know, that's just time taken away from your exam. So anyway, little things like that will help. And that's the plan, folks. Quick question here. Which address families are supported by MTR? So, first of all, what is MTR? And we're going to say that this is Cisco, right? Not necessarily Cisco, but this is multiple topology routing. And it's a pretty cool feature. It has been called routing by like service class, or sort of QoS based routing. So instead of just the destination, it's not to allow you to have overlapping IP address space inside of your network, like you would with VRFs. You could still use VRFs with it, but the idea is that you can have multiple sets of routes over the same topology and base the routing for a particular traffic flow on the policy, like a QoS policy or something like that. So, but which address families are supported by multiple topology routing? So if you have an idea, go ahead and write in the chat or just think about it in your head. So the question would be, will it support IPv4? Mainly we're talking about IPv4 and IPv6 here. So in this particular case, IPv4 is the address family that is supported. And when you think about address families too, you could even break it down between like unicast and multicast. So with unicast, you can't have multiple IPv4 unicast topologies. It does support IPv4 multicast, but only with a you can have a single global topology for multicast, and then you can have a per VRF multicast topology. That's at least how I understand it. So this is kind of an advanced. To me, it's kind of in. I know you can use enterprise, but it's also with probably more of the service provider realm, but something that you want to be aware of. Mentors, you study your hex and binary conversions. Simple yet can trip you up. I admit I forget sometimes. Yes, I did a good bit of that today, to be honest. And I used that assured forwarding per op behavior configurations to do that, and it was good. It was good, good practice. I have sort of a system to write it out, you know. But yeah, you definitely want to know your hex binary conversions and decimal. I'm sure there'll be a subnet question. Yeah, I would imagine. So binary is important, and subnetting, you know, that is definitely CCNA and CCNP, but they're assuming CCIE that you know how to subnet, and I'm sure they could ping me on a difficult, sort of tricky subnetting type question. So they can throw anything at you, even experimental questions. So Mentor's been reviewing some of my earlier exam materials from CCIE just to refresh on top of CCIE studies. Yes, you got to have a really good foundation. In fact, Mentors, prior to the second attempt, I felt I had gotten away from being quick, you know, from my speed on subnetting. So I actually played the game on my phone for a while, you know, the Cisco subnet game. That's really good practice for binary to decimal conversions and doing subnetting. That's excellent, you know, excellent practice. So shoot, I may do some of that as well. Great suggestions, folks. I'm going to cut it here and just say I hope everybody has a great, you know, last night, unless, you know, it's already 2019. It may already be 2019 for you. In Australia, they celebrated quite a while ago. So anyway, everybody, New Year's. Have a great New Year's. We can talk in Discord about, you know, what are your goals for 2019. I'll be a lot more interactive, folks, once I'm past this written. Basically, right now, I'm checking into Discord like once a day, twice a day. Twitter, I haven't even been on Twitter, Instagram accounts. But, you know, once this exam is over, I'll be a lot more interactive with the community. Yeah, fundamentals are key. Hey, you're ready, man. Anything to put on test, you'll rock. Thank you, Casadix. I'm feeling pretty good, I have to say. Mentors, have a great New Year, everyone. Stay safe and get a designated driver. Absolutely. Let's all make it back here. Happy New Year, folks. We shall see everybody back here, hopefully tomorrow. I will be streaming tomorrow, same time. And let's all make it back here safe. And we'll see each other back in the chat in Discord or on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. Thanks so much for stopping in, folks. Great to chat with everyone. Appreciate all the support, and we shall see you tomorrow here on the Land Tamer stream. Have a good night.